Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's my Kenyan Path, and I believe this is episode 5 of the Healthy and Whole series. If you're new here, make sure that you click the subscribe button, turn on the bell so that you're always notified when I post a new video, and make sure you check out the other Healthy and Whole episodes before you get right into this one. So I did not post a video last week. I'm very sorry. But so this week's video is going to be a combination of my thoughts from last week and from this week as well. Today I actually have 3 main things that I want to talk about, and then I'll definitely talk about the gems of this week and last week that you should probably check out, and hopefully you will enjoy this video. So I've written everything down. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is a podcast episode I listened to by Robin Sharma. And if you've seen the title, you've seen the title of the video. And I was listening to an episode by Robin Sharma, A Quick System for a Spectacular Life. And one of the key pointers that he gives in that podcast is you need to come up with 10 life laws. So these are like your guiding principles of life. It could be as short or as long as you want, but basically these are your personal laws. And he gave some suggestions, and one of his suggestions was don't die. And it's such a simple statement, but it encompasses so much, because if you think about it, our whole life revolves around staying alive, keeping our minds alive, keeping our bodies alive, like trying to maintain physical health and spiritual health, keeping our hope alive, keeping our faith alive. So don't die is one of the most powerful statements you can make a part of your 10 life laws. So that's why the title of my video is Choose Life. And it's really unfortunate that it often takes a really sad or dramatic life experience for us to realize or to accept or to be reminded of our mortality. Like losing a loved one, a near-death experience. It always takes something so, wild to wake us up and remind us that we are only here for a brief time. We don't know when we are going to die. And it doesn't mean being reckless. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It means you're more intentional. You reprioritize. You really think about what you're giving your time, your energy, your effort, your love, your thoughts and your actions into. So don't die. Choose life, and choose life every minute, every day, every week, every month. And I feel like it further reinforces the whole idea of this series of just constantly reminding yourself what matters and working towards it every single day. You can listen to it on Castbox if you have an Android, and you can listen to it on podcasts if you have an Apple device. The second thing I want to talk about is mediocrity. Mediocrity for me is one of my biggest fears, but it's also one of my biggest realities, and it really sucks. I realized for myself and about myself is that my output in most areas is usually half-baked. Like I often make excuses of for doing things, just doing the bare minimum, and not putting in my 100% effort in things. And one of my goals is to do what I do with excellence. You might do something with excellence and it might not be excellent, but you did it with excellence. Like your best might not be the best, but it's your best, so it is the best. Yeah, this is how I think. Again, Robin Sharma, in one of his episodes, which happens to be a gem of last week, the common character traits that the greatest heroes of history had. And one of the things he mentioned is that they do very few things, but they do them excellently. And you'd think that that's the cure to mediocrity, right? Well, for me, no. Because I don't think I do many things, like I take up many roles. But I'm still finding that the few things that I do, I am not doing them at my best. And again, it's not even about looking at things, in the grand scale and putting pressure on yourself, which is something I've talked about in other episodes. It's actually the opposite. Sometimes you're too gentle with yourself. Sometimes you make excuses, and there are things you can change now. There are things you can change today. So even at the small scale, we brush those things aside. Like, no, do I really need to tweak things? Do I really need to improve the quality of my videos, for example? Just always making excuses for not being excellent and for just being mediocre. So that's a huge thing I'm dealing with, and I'm just like, yo, Sharon, get your acts together. So in reference to number 2, my point number 3 is the solution, the plan of action. Because whenever I identify a problem or weakness, I try and look for a solution. And so when it comes to these things that I'm mediocre at, or my weaknesses, I'm actually going to write them down, and it's in particular areas. So if I have an issue, for example, with my output my output into my Kenyan Path, I write down the 5 things I have a problem with. So I write down my weaknesses, and in reference to those weaknesses, I come up with solutions, with actual things that I can be deliberate with and start making those small changes. There's always a reason for you not to do better, but you just have to. So write out your weaknesses in whatever area that's putting you down, whatever area you find that you feel mediocre in and you feel like you can do so much better at. Write those things down. Anyway, I'm always talking about writing things down, but I write those things down, write out the solutions, and get to it. Those are the 3 things I wanted to talk about this week. Now I want to talk about the gems of the week. I've already mentioned some of them. So I talked about the 2 Robin Sharma episodes. If you're into podcasts, you should definitely check his out if you haven't already. So again, I leave a link in the description box. Another gem of this week, actually I have 2 songs this week. The first song is One Moment in Time by Whitney Houston. I'm sure all of you have heard this song, but I don't know how many of you have actually listened to those lyrics. Like, you sit down with that song and listen to it sentence by sentence. One of the lines, and I think the very first line, each day I live, I want to be a day to give the best of me. I have actually put that on a sticky note and stuck it on my mirror, and it's something that keeps me going every single day. So definitely, if you haven't heard that song before, where have you been? Because Whitney Houston is the GOAT. GOAT is greatest of all time, by the way, for my more mature viewers. But yeah, that's one song. And the second song is by Jason Mraz, and it's called, is that how you say it, Mraz? Have It All. Actually, my beloved sister Mishi recommended this song. It is so positive. Oh my gosh, it's just speaking blessings into your own life. Please check it out. I can't play it because of copyright. So again, check the link below. Another gem of last week is for the Christians. If you have the Bible app, which I've talked about, there's a Bible reading plan. It's called Joy for Today, 14 Joy-Filled Days with God. Beautiful. So if you want, make sure you check that plan out. It was very, very positive, very encouraging, realistic steps towards just being more joyful. That is this week's episode. Those are the gems and just my thoughts. I'd really love to hear from you guys how you're doing, how goal setting has been, how reflecting has been, how your December is so far. Let's share, let's chat, and keep each other motivated. Thank you so much for watching. Always remember that your hair is your crown and your body is a temple. Embrace it, love it, and take care of it. God bless you all. Goodbye.